Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the State of the Arc podcast. My name is Mike.
My name's Casen.
Casen has finished Kingdom Hearts 3.
The game has been finished by me.
It's been completed. Well, completed's the wrong word. If you say completed, people will think you 100%
It is not
of the game.
completed.
I finished the story.
I beat the game. And watched the secret endings.
So he's going to talk to us about his thoughts on that. There will be a non-spoiler section of that.
There will be a non-spoiler first, yeah.
A spoiler section. We will warn. We will put time codes in the description. If you're watching this live on Twitch, you're fresh out of luck. You're just going to have to go away for a long time probably when we start if you don't want to.
Sorry. We'll give an audible warning, and I will do this. When I do this, you know if you're scrubbing through the timeline, you know that just ditch the podcast, man.
That's actually perfect for Kingdom Hearts. You have to have an X.
It's Kai, Mike. It's Kai.
A Kai symbol for spoilers.
Yeah.
Anyways, Casen is the resident and resonant Kingdom Hearts fan.
Nice one. That was good.
But he did not necessarily love Kingdom Hearts 3.
That's the best way to put it. The love is not there the way it used to be. So, yeah.
Okay.
But we're going to talk about it, and I will give people an opportunity to convince me if you feel otherwise, because I am a big fan of the series. But 3, we just got some things to talk about. Let's just put it that way.
Yep. Before we do that, there's actually a couple of stories. I forgot to put this one in. Monster Hunter movie update.
Oh, no, from the guy who did the Resident Evil, the director from the Resident Evil movies.
Paul W.S. Anderson?
Yeah, Paul Anderson.
Yep.
Great.
Okay, so first story I want to talk about. We went over this a little while ago. I don't know how many podcasts ago it was. That there was a legal dispute between Andrzej Sapkowski, the author of the Witcher novels, and CD Projekt Red, the developers of the video games. Just to very quickly recap for those who have not heard the story, when they bought the license from him, he was asked whether or not he wanted like a percentage stake in the profits, or whether
just like
an upfront
cash,
fee.
Yeah.
And he thought the game would go nowhere, so he asked for the fee up front. That's what was agreed upon contractually. Now that The Witcher 3 specifically is just an absolute like phenomenal global success.
Yeah.
I mean, hundreds of millions, if not at least $1 billion in revenue, something like that, I would think. Maybe not quite that much. I mean, those are like Hollywood blockbuster numbers, but still.
Some video games hit that though, like Call of Duty and stuff.
Call of Duty hits that. I don't know if The Witcher 3 did.
Yeah,
but
Witcher
I would
3
say
probably not, but close.
I would say hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
He wants a piece of that. Okay, so there's been an update because he took him to court, and here's what apparently has happened, the result of the story. It says here, despite its somewhat humble beginnings as a Polish book series, The Witcher is often perceived as one of the greatest RPGs to arrive on the market, and the developers at CD Projekt Red play no small role in that. We know where this writer leans from the first sentence. One would expect that the creator of the series would be excited by its gaining reputation. Again, we got a clear bias going on here that most of us share. That being said, in October of 2018, CD Projekt Red revealed that Andrzej Sapkowski, the author of the Witcher series, has filed a lawsuit against them, arguing that he now deserves royalties from the company due to the massive success of the gaming franchise. Projekt Red has been quite open about the disagreement since it was announced, and even listed the demand for payment on their site. Though the company stated that their intentions are directed at keeping a mutually beneficial relationship between the two, they were also quick to note that the argument is built on what had been contractually agreed upon beforehand, and was therefore disinclined to agree despite his contribution. For Sapkowski, he claimed that the original deal struck between the author and developer was misleading. In an interview with Eurogamer, he stated that he expected nothing to come of it. Then this was, I thought, the damning part for him. Why I thought he wouldn't win at all, because this statement has been public for a long time. I was stupid enough to sell them rights to the whole bunch. They offered me a percentage of their profits. I said, no, there will be no profit at all. Give me all my money right now, the whole amount. It was stupid. I was stupid enough to leave everything in their hands because I didn't believe in their success. But who could foresee their success? I couldn't. That doesn't sound like you were confused or that the deal was misleading. It sounds like you completely understood what you were doing, and now you realize you were dumb for not doing it.
Yep.
This is my problem with this whole story.
I know.
Is how candid he was about the fact that he knows he made a mistake. So to try and sell this as being misleading is stupid. But
dishonest.
Here's the part about the story that at least leads to it making sense to me that the result is what it is. Because Sokovsky did get something out of this. Not the amount that he wanted, but it goes on to say his argument stands that as the original creator of The Witcher, he is now entitled to 6% of all profits gained from the franchise, including the sequels, spin-offs that continue to surface over time. His claim is justified by Article 44 of Poland's copyright law as well, which states, in the event of a gross discrepancy between the remuneration of the author and the benefits of the acquirer of the author's economic rights or the license, or licensee, I guess, the author may request the court for a due increase of his or her remuneration. However, at the time of the request, CD Projekt Red refused. They argued that they had purchased the IP with a fixed price included, and Sokovsky himself had even refused the original deal of royalties when the developer had offered. But now, as the case continues in 2019, it seems that an agreement has finally been made. CD Projekt Red won't be paying the entire 6% of the royalties, but they will be paying something. Before the legal battle occurred, Sokovsky received 35,520 Polish zloty, which is equivalent to $9,350 US, or 8,000.
That's what he sold his work for.
Yeah, or 8,237 English pounds. In return for the intellectual property of The Witcher. Or is that euros? That might be euros.
That would be euros. Pounds would be more like 5,000 or 6,000.
Yeah, it's euros. 8,237 euros. Yeah, it's not pounds, it's euros. Okay. In return for the intellectual property of The Witcher. Now, with Project Red only partially agreeing to his terms, he'll be receiving a set amount of undisclosed royalties in the future. The exact amount is currently unknown, but it's certainly not the 60 million zloty that Sokovsky had originally demanded. There's no doubt that the Witcher franchise will continue to grow as time continues. Thronebreaker has only recently launched to the public, and with a Netflix show on the way as well, it's quite likely that Sokovsky will be dealing with CD Projekt Red again in the future, though whether or not they will remain on good terms is a mystery. So there you go. You got something.
Good job, dude.
All of it. But I mean, that's probably what the goal really was. It was like, we're going to ask for 6%, we're not going to get 6%.
Exactly. It's a legal strategy, yeah. And honestly, for CD Projekt Red, if they do want to maintain good relations with the original author, which I don't know why you wouldn't, especially if you want him to consult on projects or the TV show or whatever, you'd give him something just as a thank you, honestly. 6%, way too high, but they'll probably like, whatever, we'll give you something.
6%.
It's like pity money.
6% isn't like that far off from what you get as like the author of the book that you wrote with your
with the publisher with the big
yeah. But the difference is you effing wrote the thing.
This is ex post facto or whatever. This is after the fact. You can't.
He didn't work on the Witcher video games at all.
No, he didn't. Not at all. And he didn't write them or anything.
For...
So I'm sure if he gets 1%, that he'll be happy, and that his lawyer will be happy, and that everyone will be happy.
Anvil of Doom, and this is actually I'm not totally against this either. I'm kind of with Anvil on this one. He says, Sokovsky seems like an arrogant buffoon, but I actually quite like that aspect of Polish copyright law. It seems like a good protection help for the creators against companies.
Sure. He's a jerk.
Yeah, I do think that, like, especially if he hadn't, like, let's say, I'm not saying this is true in this case, but I'm saying, let's say some author or somebody who doesn't have like good legal counsel is approached by a company and they offer them some money and they, maybe they're not
And
doing
they
super
think it's
well.
a
They
lot.
think, oh,
Yeah.
that's a lot of money. I'll take that. And they want that up front because they don't want the risk of maybe the game doesn't make any money and then you've given your rights away and you make nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Like having not the foresight or at least the knowledge in like business dealings and contract writing and that sort of thing. Sure, like if something like blows up like this, being able to have some protection under the law where you can be compensated to some degree in those cases, I think is good. And I think especially with my love of the novels and how amazing they are and the fact that these characters and this world that I care a lot about were created by this man, and the fact that I learned about it through the video games because the video games were so big and they cast such a wide net that they found me where I probably would never have found the novels otherwise. Obviously the lion's share of those profits should go to the people who made the game, who put the work in to create the product.
Right, who actually invested capital. Yeah.
But I still think that he made a very stupid mistake. Now that we have a number placed on how much it was actually sold for, which was less than 10,000, it's like, okay, yeah, like we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars here.
Yeah.
He probably should be compensated more than 10,000.
He should. And even if it's just a goodwill, like from CD Projekt Red, they just write him a check for $1 million or whatever. Even if it's just like, hey, yeah, we know we got the better end of the deal here. Like, here you go. But I just don't like the legal precedent of you can sign anything you want and then come back later and change your mind. I don't like that. But I like I do see some fairness in, what essentially is what's happened.
Yeah.
In that law.
So anyways, thought we'd update you guys on that story. Yep. Has now come to its conclusion.
We'll see. I hope the numbers come out soon. I'd love to see like what percentage of profits he actually feels entitled to.
It said here it was undisclosed, but I mean if it's less than 6%, then
yeah.
I don't know how much that is, but okay. I want to move on real quick to this next thing, and then we'll get into Kingdom Hearts 3 talk. So I hadn't like heard much about this Monster Hunter movie. I had only seen originally this image right here. I'll send this one to you too, Casen.
Yeah, please do.
Which basically shows shoot, where are you? There you are. Which basically shows a bunch of dudes in like military gear.
Oh yeah, I think I've already seen it.
And it was whoa. I was under the assumption that they were going to be fighting the monsters in tanks and stuff like that.
That's right. The monsters come to the future. That's what the story's about. It's not set in the past. Yeah.
Hold on. Now we have this. I sent it to you here. Okay. So what it says is...
Whoa. Wait, is that Mila Jovovich? Is she?
Yes. She's like the main character.
Oh my gosh. They're married. Paul Anderson and Mila Jovovich are married.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it says Sony Pictures has revealed that the Monster Hunter movie directed by Paul W.S. Anderson and starring Mila Jovovich will launch on September 4th, 2020. Apparently this came from Deadline. In the movie, Mila will play a lieutenant who is transported alongside her troops to the world of Monster Hunter, ruled by dangerous, powerful monsters with deadly attacks. She'll then team up with a mysterious man played by Tony Jaa, who has found
Tony
a way
Jaa? Are you kidding me?
fight
That's
back. I knew you were going to freak out as soon as I said
He's my
that.
favorite. Tony Jaa. So this movie's going to have Tony Jaa in it. That actually does change things. I'm definitely watching it. Dude, you guys, okay, tell me if you guys know who Tony Jaa is. Okay, War624. He is possibly the greatest martial artist since Bruce Lee to do, like, cinema. It's incredible. He is so unbelievably talented.
What was that Tony Jaa movie we watched when I was living at your house?
We watched The Protector with the elephants, but then we also watched Ong Bak, which is his first one, his first big one. So we watched both of those, and he is just He is unbelievable.
He literally kicks and punches people in the face.
Yeah, in Thailand they don't have workers' rights and unions and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and so the stunt people, you get paid more if you're willing to actually get kicked in the face, and they're kind of a poor country, so people do that. His stunt team, he actually freaking knees them in the skull.
He knocks people out.
It looks very real because it is.
Yeah. Anyways,
poor guys.
So the guy who Tony Jaa's playing has found a way to fight back. Currently, apart from the movie original characters, several characters from the games appear, such as the Handler, the Admiral, and Palicos? I don't know who these characters are.
No.
I've played Monster Hunter 3 mostly, but they're confirmed to appear as well. You can read more about the characters and monsters appearing in the movie in our report here. Actually, I didn't even click on that. Let's see. Who else? Oh, this is the same one I saw earlier. Okay, anyways, that's a little interview. I'll put both of these links in the description on YouTube so you guys can look at them if you're interested. But this image that we're looking at, for those of you who are not watching, you're listening audio only, shows Tony Jaa like basically in very iconic, recognizable Monster Hunter-esque type of garb. He's got
the Palicos are the cats, by the way.
Oh, Palicos, okay. So he's got like the big sword on his shoulder. Like the armor all looks very Monster Hunter like, crafted from leather and different like animal parts. So and Mila Jovovich herself is wearing like more medieval-esque looking sort of like armor. It has swords and shields and stuff. So at least my fear that they were making a Monster Hunter movie where they were going to be using guns and tanks is pretty much assuaged at this point.
At least it's not that. I was very disappointed when I first saw that.
So it looks like the story includes modern like GIs being transported into the world of Monster Hunter somehow, where they're going to fight monsters in the Monster Hunter way.
Wow.
So, thought I'd clear that up since we had basically reported that that's not the case, or we speculated it was not the case in the past.
So it's some time travel stuff. I don't know why they feel the need to do that, but whatever. As long as we're in the ancient times of using swords to kill monsters, that's cool. That's fine.
That's all that matters, right?
Dude, I am watching this movie. So at first I look at Mila Jovovich and I'm like, come on, dude, stop casting your wife in like every movie you make. And it's like, congrats to her for being incredibly attractive for like 30 years straight. Like, that's crazy. She's in her mid-40s. You cannot tell by looking at her. She is super good looking, right? Still. But like, I was not happy to see her in this movie. I was hoping I'd get something new from the Resident Evil stuff that we were seeing before. But Tony freaking Jaa, I am watching this movie. And I'm going to like it.
All right. So there we are. Let's move into our main topic for today, which is...
Here's a good segue. Okay. We've got a comment here from Colin Peluso that says, time travel. I don't know why they need to do that. And then hyphen, dream drop distance. Okay. So we're going into Kingdom Hearts 3 now. So first of all, I want to gauge everyone's reactions real quick. If you've played the game, we're not going to do spoilers right now. We'll let you know, and I will do this, when we're doing spoilers. But what did you guys think of Kingdom Hearts 3? I want to know your opinions. I want to know your thoughts, because I need to talk to someone about this, and I haven't been able to talk to anyone yet. And this is why I'm going to do, we're going to have a discussion here. My initial thoughts were, yes, Metropolis, it looks beautiful. Absolutely true. The game looks stunning, incredible, amazing, wonderful. Mike, how we were talking about the editing for cutscenes in Kingdom Hearts is just really bad. Yes. And I was like, it is definitely going to be better in Kingdom Hearts 3. I was so confident. It actually,
I remember watching your first stream on it, and I was like, they didn't fix this.
They didn't. They have the best renders I've ever seen of video games based on movies or whatever. They have freaking like incredible effects. Unreal Engine 5 or whatever they're using right now. Unreal 4. What are they on right now? Unreal
4, yeah.
Unreal 4. And it's just like, it's amazing, right? It looks incredible. They have so much talent. They've got cinematography like crazy. All the camera work looks good. But they sit there and they hold on these awkward situations. Almost reliably, every single cutscene does that. over and over and over again. And that is unbelievable. I cannot believe that they don't have an editor. This is Tetsuya Nomura. He has directed feature-length films before that are well edited. In my opinion, they're well edited. Why is he not having any say in these cutscenes and the way they're edited? How can you make Advent Children and understand that it's okay to have an L cut where you don't have to see the person talking and finishing their entire line and staring at the camera before the next line
and
starts?
then give them a beat before the next line starts?
Like, how can he have made Advent Children where they did everything right and it was well edited and then direct these cutscenes?
I'm
nitpicking right now. That's not my real problem with Kingdom Hearts 3.
This is total speculation.
This up right now.
Total speculation. They obviously would have had a different editor on the film than they did in the video games.
Yes.
Like a different person doing the cutscene editing and direction. Like Nomura is the director of the game, but they have like a what do they call it? A movie editor or cutscene editor who is
who
like
needs
part
to
of
be
the team.
Fired.
That person, I don't know if it's been the same guy the whole time.
I would guess it has.
It feels like it has been.
It feels
because
that way.
it has the same style. And that is one of the biggest things that I've learned over our years of making videos and films and doing editing is that when your scene feels slow, the first thing you should do as an editor is start L cutting. Take the next person's line, overlap it over the top of the end of the first person's line so that they're sort of cutting into what they're saying, and then do an L cut so that you have the person finishing their line, but the other person's talking over the top of it, and then we cut into their shot, their reverse or whatever, while they're in the middle of saying what they're saying. And just by doing that, you can make the scene feel like it's faster. And it moves. And in Kingdom Hearts, not only do they not have the next line start kind of while the next one's trailing off, they never have characters like interrupt each other or anything like that. There is this long beat after a character finishes something. Character A says, "But what is the darkness?" Beat. Character B, "The darkness is mysterious and blah, 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 blah." Beat. Character A again. Like, it's really...
With the emotion, because I think the lines were actually read pretty well. The voice acting was actually pretty good. They got really talented and famous actors to read these lines in a lot of instances. But the editing makes them seem and feel really bad because all of a sudden, like Ansem says something like, "The darkness is the true essence." Wait 5 seconds. Then Sora, "But that's not right." And it's immediately after, but you waited. What were you doing the 5 seconds while his line ended and nothing happened? And then all of a sudden you're responding with this energy, this power that was well voiced, but it feels so bad because the editing was poor. It's not the actor's fault. I'll just say that.
And we've talked about this before too, right? It is really hard for these actors who do these big, sprawling JRPGs because they are never in the same room together when they're acting. And so depending on if the other line has been recorded or not, will not even have heard how the other actor delivered the line in order to like formulate a response to it. They'll just have the director reading the line to them, and then they have... So sometimes it does feel very disconnected, the way that the two people are responding to each other, because they literally did not hear how the other person delivered the line in the first place. Yeah. And so they're just guessing. Like, they can make formulated guesses, like good guesses based on like the direction that they're given and how the scene is building up, and they can sort of read the subtext in the script. But even still, it's never going to feel as natural as the way that it's done with where they do motion capture at the same time. They like act the scene out with the other actors in the studio, excuse me, like they do with Naughty Dog games, with Uncharted and The Last of Us.
Yeah.
They have those
capture and all that.
Yeah, they're in the suits, so they're capturing their motion, and they have the dots on their faces, so they capture their facial expressions, and they capture the lines all at the same time, and the actors are all playing off of each other, and that's why the cutscenes in those games feel so much more natural.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, that's not plausible for such long games like JRPGs with like thousands and thousands of lines of dialogue in them over the course of 50, like 60-hour-long games.
Yeah.
So that automatically, just by the nature of the fact that this, and I don't know how long Kingdom Hearts is, but
not as long as I'm
just giving a general idea here. You can't have the same expectation of, let's say, even Mass Effect, right? Of Mass Effect's delivery and natural sort of like back and forth dialogue as you would for a game that's made like Naughty Dog makes them. So that definitely plays a part in it. But even still, a good director, a good voice director, and a good editor can make this way, way, way more natural through their craft, even if the actors don't give the best response. But they record their lines more than once. You know that that's true.
Yeah, definitely.
And there are methods of combining a take. Like if you have 3 takes of one line and you like this portion of this one and this portion of this one and this portion of this one, there are tools out there that help you combine 3 different takes into one. This is what they did on Toy Story. Pixar does this all the time, where they like this part of Tom Hanks' line, but they like the end of this take, and they want to combine the two together. And they have made tools that allow them to combine lines so you get exactly the right emotion. So all of these tools are available to them, and you still have directors who can tell the person, hey, that's a little too strong there on the end. Can we pull back a little bit? Or that's not enough. We need more there on the end. Can you do the take again and make sure we, and the editor can can completely control the flow of the scene. That's basically their job, since they're combining two completely separate recorded performances and trying to combine them, make them feel like they were there at the same time. And you can do that. I've done that before.
I don't know. Maybe because I don't know. Okay,
anyways,
let's keep going.
So anyways, first we're gonna have Casen talk about.
Okay, sure, got you. Go ahead.
Casen's gonna give his non-spoiler thoughts on the game. We again will warn you when we're about to get into spoilers, and we will provide time codes. I am now able to put time codes into the audio only descriptions as well. So even if you're audio only, you'll be able to look at the description and it should tell you like what times you need to skip at. So all of that will be in the description, and we'll do warnings so that you know it's coming.
You guys.
So Casen, go for it. Non-spoilers.
First of all, I want to read some of the comments because I asked everybody what their thoughts were, and I just want to make sure I go into this, and I will give my thoughts immediately after. First of all, Anvil of Doom is bringing up that Mila Jovovich, were she to have been super attractive for 30 years, that would be going a little too young. I'm just saying she has been attractive for a very long time, and that's hard for women to do. Okay, so so War624 saying, from what I hear, Kingdom Hearts 3 does the time travel thing too. It looks beautiful. Colin saying, I was pissed. I had my expectations way too high, but genuinely felt zero emotion from the ending. I can, agree with that a little bit. Some people haven't played it yet. I stopped after the Pirates World, wasn't interested, and I love the Kingdom Hearts series. That's Partysra. I gotcha. Arcus says he loved it. Perfect. Has looks but no consistency. It's good but could be much better. English was rushed, and the game was easy even on proud mode. That is absolutely correct. It's solid. Hates some of the story elements, which is a given with Kingdom Hearts games, but it's fun to play, and the focus is at least narrowed. Storytelling. Okay, it might have the worst story in the series, says Colin, and I think I agree with that completely. Combat's enjoyable, but the animations are excessive. Blah blah blah. Even coded is better. I will never agree with that. Coded is the worst for sure. I thought Kingdom Hearts 3 was fun, but it has a lot of issues. That's right, and that's more or less where I fall on this. Somebody's saying it was pretty bad, but they weren't too disappointed. We've got it's better. Okay. So I got this now. Donkey posted a video yesterday going up with every story. That's funny. I should watch Donkey's video. He's hilarious.
He does a really good job of explaining in very simple yet like profound terms, like what would usually take me like probably 20 or 30 minutes to say. But I agree with every single thought he's ever shared on Kingdom Hearts. I'm right alongside Donkey in terms of his view on the storytelling and everything.
Yeah. It was weird how Drake Bell was young Xehanort. That was Drake. I didn't know that. And Terra was the rain guy from Blade Runner. Oh, and the tears in the rain guy from Blade Runner was the old Xehanort. Okay, I got you. Okay, cool. So a lot of people are concerned about Final Fantasy VII Remake after this, and I kind of get this a little bit. Okay, these were things Casen had a problem with. How dare you? Kingdom Hearts' amazing story is god-like, just Rick and Musty. Sorry, Duel. Maybe you can clarify a little bit. Okay, cool. So I'm getting all this now. Okay, so for the most part, people are agreeing with me that the game was fun, but wow, there are some issues, and it's not just, ooh, I wonder where the story's going next. It's like, whoa, that was kind of dumb, kind of thing, right? All right, guys, let me go. Yeah, somebody's saying I beat it in 26 hours. Mike, did you ever hear how long Kingdom Hearts 3 was going to be before? I remember somebody had said, like, I heard like 50 or 60 hours.
I don't remember that.
Somebody
I have no idea.
The game came out, and I was expecting a much longer game. Dude, that game was not very good. Okay, or not very good. It was not very long. It was incredibly short. Okay, so
Freudian slip, dude. It's not very good.
Sorry. No, that's what I truly meant. Anyways, okay. So I got by when I asked people what their thoughts were for the most part. But I can't. Sorry, I couldn't read all the. We had a lot of comments after I asked that question. Okay, Kingdom Hearts 3 was extremely fun. The battle system was awesome, and the world of Toy Story was freaking incredible. It was so fun. The Pixar stuff was on point. It was a blast to play through, and it was just wonderful, right? If Kingdom Hearts was just this kid, you're Sora, you're going out around all of the different worlds, and you're just doing the Disney stuff, it would have been fine, right? It would have been it wouldn't have been wonderful like Kingdom Hearts 1 was, but it would have been fine. And Toy Story specifically, we should have gone back there. Anyways, my personal opinion was that some of the worlds were incredibly fun. The game as a whole, I have a problem with. It is possibly, other than Coded, it's probably my least favorite Kingdom Hearts game that I've ever played. And I have so many issues with it. I don't even really know exactly where to start. There is no Final Fantasy, which is just unbelievably disappointing. I just can't. The further Kingdom Hearts gets from Final Fantasy, like the less good the games become. There's a reason for that. Remember back when I was like, hey guys, does Kingdom Hearts need Final Fantasy?
No. You made a whole video on that.
Yeah, well, guess what? Kind of it should have had more Final Fantasy. It would have been better. I need to, maybe we'll delete that video. I'll make a new one. Does Kingdom Hearts need Final Fantasy? Yeah, probably, because it's just a little, I don't know. But, well, okay. I'm trying not to get into spoiler stuff here. The special moves when you're doing your like Disneyland ride finishes and stuff had no story relevance whatsoever, but they were fun, and I did like them. It was cool to ride the train around and be shooting at people through the choo-choo part of the train, just launching rockets, and like doing the river rafting with your tube, just like going all around. It was fun, like whatever. The game is super, super fun. But I kind of just want to go into spoilers now. So,
well, could you?
Overall, it's one of my least favorite Kingdom Hearts games. Like it is.
Could you, without like pointing to a specific scene or like any event that happens or naming characters or whatnot, could you give like a criticism of like a technique used or where it went with like its message or something like that you disagreed with in particular?
There's some elements of some typical like social justice kind of stuff going on there that's just kind of obnoxious in video games now, but it's not a game breaker for me. It's just like, okay, fine, whatever, just get past that. It felt rushed. like the look of it did not feel rushed. The look of the games was unbelievable, especially when you get to like the Tangled World, the Pirates of the Caribbean, right? Just a complete Assassin's Creed 4 like ripoff, basically, but with the way the sea battles worked and things. But the way it looked, you can tell, wow, this took them a long time. The way it felt, the way it was paced, the way the story unfolded, it was like, whoa, they didn't have enough time to do everything they wanted to do. The game as a whole it does not look rushed. It feels rushed, incredibly so, as a matter of fact. For a game that took 10 years to make, or 7, or however long when they actually really sat down and started making it, this game was ridiculously rushed.
All right.
So that's probably the biggest one.
And could you
people are saying more SJW stuff.
I was about to say, could you elaborate on that without spoiling?
Now, one of them I'll have to go into. It is absolutely a spoiler, so we're not going to go into that. It has to do with something with the general way that things happen. But the other one is that there's this funny kind of like feminist tone to the whole game, which is fine. It's not like I have a problem with that. It's just weird. It's just not very consistent with the games before it. But every world we visit, whether it be Tangled or Frozen or Big Hero 6 or gosh, I'm trying to think of what other worlds there even were. Pirates of the Caribbean. They always had to make these weird comments, or like Goofy or Donald would always have to like be like, wow, that girl's way stronger than the guy. And it's just kind of stuff that's just like, okay, fine, whatever. But it's not the way that the movies were, but it's the game is like trying to put on this kind of this a little bit different of a kind of a feel than maybe the other games did. Which, if that ends up being the case, whatever. Like in Tangled, the girl uses her hair and the guy doesn't basically do anything. And it's like, okay, sweet. That's what's happening. That's not entirely how the movies went, but whatever. They're just trying to put stuff in it, I guess, for young kids to be more excited about it. And so that's fine. That's fine. But it did just kind of feel a little bit different based on that from other games. The big problem I have is with the spoilery aspect of the whole thing, which we're going to get into later.
Okay. And by later, we mean right now. So click away.
Be careful, beware!
If you don't want any spoilers for Kingdom Hearts 3, because we're about to get into the spoiler territory.
You saw this, right?
Again, the timestamps will be in the description to skip past this to the community stories section at the end. So as of right now, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, spoilers are about to flow.
Real quick, though, King Mijona says he doesn't feel like it was rushed. The Disney worlds weren't rushed. It's just the Kingdom Hearts stuff, the Nomura stuff, like that was all rushed. And like I'd agree with that. Fine. Like the Disney worlds themselves, they didn't necessarily feel rushed. And the look of the game is phenomenal. It is with the way everything ties together that it felt rushed. And it's also with the fact that you don't go back to these worlds like ever again, right? It's like in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, you go to a world, you do part of the story, then you go somewhere else, and you come back and you kind of finish a little bit more, and then you come back, and then this story really like wraps up, right? You don't usually beat that whole Disney World all in just one go. I was hoping that we'd be coming back to some of the shorter worlds, specifically Toy Story, because it was so freaking fun, especially controlling like the mech things with like the shooter guns and stuff. That was unbelievably fun. I had an absolute blast. And just being in Toy Story and like running around and like running around Andy's room and like outside of his house and all the stuff from the game or from the movies, super, super cool. So I agree that's not rushed. The part that was rushed was literally everything outside of the Disney worlds, which was kind of a lot. So in Kingdom Hearts 1, you don't really revisit worlds. Okay, maybe I'm referring more to Kingdom Hearts 2, I suppose. Okay, so when we're talking about spoilery stuff, which we're going to get into now, we have to talk about the ending because, like it was gross. It just left a weird taste in my mouth. Like Xehanort was really evil, right? Like you had Kingdom Hearts 1, you had Ansem, and it was like, oh, he's wrong about light and dark, and he gets killed or whatever. Still no one dies. I cannot believe that still nobody actually dies in Kingdom Hearts. It's really weird. Even the people Anyways, it just kind of it's just weird, but that's a Disney thing probably. So
But hold on,
you know,
before you go on, I was just curious, what happens when a world like what's the first world? The islands. Destiny Islands gets overrun by the darkness, right? So do people not die when that happens? I think that like Beast also says something like my world was overcome by darkness. Do the people not die, or do they all just turn into heartless, or what?
I don't know. I guess their hearts go somewhere, but they can just come back, just find the Dragon Balls or whatever. I don't know how they do it, but they're just like they just come back. It's like no big deal. Like there are people there's these scenes at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 where you go through and you're just like annihilating these Organization 3 or Organization 13 people, just tearing them apart left and right, boom, 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 and then you see them like fade away, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the game and like the post-credit sequences and stuff, they're all back. It's like, what happened? Where did you go if you didn't die? Like, what? Why are you here? Especially Sykes, or the blue-haired dude. Who
the second in command to Xemnas.
Yeah, he was friends with Axel, right? And then they became not friends, right? And then you basically mess him up, and then later on he shows up with ice cream. Anyways, it's just like, so no one dies, and you just have to come to understand that. Like, basically nobody's going to die here. And that's just kind of how it goes. But in terms of the question you're asking, I don't know how to answer that because Kingdom Hearts kind of avoids showing other people in general, other than your main characters. So you go through a whole city and there's no one in it, you know? Kingdom Hearts 3 changed that a little bit. So in Twilight Town, there are some people, you hear conversations, and there's some other people around now, finally. And it's pretty interesting, you know? And the restaurant is like crowded with people. The restaurant was super fun. Restaurant might have been, other than Toy Story, might have been the highlight of the whole game. So, anyways, yeah, Sykes or Isa. Is Sykes, can somebody tell me, is he back? Like, is he around? Is he alive? Okay, so Xehanort. Let's talk about Xehanort for a little bit. Because Xehanort was bad, right? He was really bad. He was rotten to the core. He was like just an engineer of death and destruction. Except no one dies. So maybe he wasn't that bad. He didn't actually kill anyone because no one dies. Maybe that's why. Maybe he knew that the whole time. He's like, he's like extracting hearts, and he's like, but they're not really dead. So maybe he's not as evil as Hitler, right? But you basically got this really evil Hitler kind of feel from him, right? He's basically Voldemort. And at the very end, Ericus just like walks up to him, puts his hand on his shoulder, and is just like,
well, wait, we talked about this before the podcast, and Peluso is bringing it up now about killing Ericus, right?
Okay, I guess he's dead, but he's there. He's in the game. He walks up to... I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. This will take me maybe a month or two to get over. People who really liked Kingdom Hearts, send me all of your encouragement and tweet at me and keep my morale up for the next little while. My initial reaction is pretty negative, which is why we're doing this in a podcast and not in a video on YouTube. Mike and I kind of talked about it, and I was like, I want to make a video about Kingdom Hearts 3. And Mike was saying, hey, talk to everybody, gauge how everybody feels, and, you know, maybe take some time before making that video, because right now my video would not be very kind. And I need to see other people's perspectives of people who did like Kingdom Hearts 3. And why they liked it and why they maybe appreciated the ending. But dudes, Ericus is there. He's back. Okay. Whether he's there, like, okay, maybe he did die, but dead people can come back to the world and be there and talk to people still. So is that really death? Maybe not. I don't think so. As far as I could tell, he was alive that whole time. And here he is. And now Xehanort, is Xehanort still alive? I think those guys really are. Like, I think they can come back. I really do. And there's time travel too. They're going to come back.
When you die and your heart is strong, you just get split into like a heartless and a nobody anyways, right?
Yeah, but that didn't happen to these guys. Ericus isn't a heartless or a nobody, but he's there. So what is he?
So he legit died, and then he just is a Force ghost now.
And now he's a Force ghost, I guess, but he's... Sure. This is a Star Wars thing. Some people are bringing up Force ghost. I see that, sure. So it's same as in Star Wars. Like,
so does that mean that Xehanort and Ericus are both dead and they go to the afterlife together?
that is the feeling you're supposed to get, but are they really dead? I don't know. I don't know how this stuff works in Kingdom Hearts. But you're supposed to get the image that yes, they died. You're also supposed to have gotten the image that these Organization 13 people died also as we went around killing them with the sword. Like Ansem was like, oh man, we finally killed him. And he like has all these regrets about the way he lived his life, right? And then he fades away.
But isn't killing the organization members killing their nobodies? Which, if you kill the Heartless and the nobody, they come back, right? They come back as their original self. So that's why, like, Axel comes back as what's his name?
That's Lee.
Lee, right?
Yeah. So they come back. So none of those guys are actually dead. So they're going to come right back, I suppose.
So they didn't die. Okay, then this is the point that.
But when Ericus or Xehanort died, were they not killed? How did they die? Were they killed by a Keyblade, or how did they die?
You mean like originally?
So if you're killed by a Keyblade, then you'll come back. Okay, this is a problem, actually. I don't know if this is a conversation we should be having, because every now and then somebody needs to help me. Because I'm getting a little confused right now. And sometimes people get really upset when I start talking about Kingdom Hearts as if I know what it is, when I kind of am still a little confused here. So I actually do not know exactly how to address what Mike just brought up. So can somebody...
Rob says, depends on the order the Heartless and Nobody are destroyed in, according to Lore Runner. So if you destroy the Heartless first and then the Nobody, then they come back to life. But if you destroy the Nobody first and then the Heartless, they don't come back? Is that what you're saying, Rob? Colin says the Sykes thing felt like a plot hole. The game was implying that Sykes came back and became a nobody again for no reason. Or his nobody time traveled into a... Okay, the whole time travel thing is just freaking nonsense.
It's already crazy because
completely nonsense.
Time travel blows it into like exponential craziness.
Rob says yes, according to Lore Runner. So you can only come back after you've been split. If your Heartless is killed first, and then the Nobody is killed. If it's in that order, the original person is recreated.
So somebody killed Sykes Heartless.
But if you kill the Nobody first, which is what I would assume happened to a lot of the organization members when you fought them in the games.
Yeah.
And their Heartless had not been killed first, that means they should have died altogether.
Oh no! Hey, Cap Doc, I'm sorry. Spoilers.
Cap Doc, there's spoilers, man.
Spoilers. If anybody is new, we are discussing the spoilery aspects of Kingdom Hearts 3. Okay. I guess I understand that to some extent. There's weird rules about death.
But it's all arbitrary. I mean, like, they just freaking make it up as they go.
I know, but my rule is, because my rule is they aren't dead unless... When are they dead? When are they truly dead? Right? When are they truly dead? Because it has changed from game to game.
You have to put a cap in their face. But you have to not kill them with a Keyblade.
That's right. You got to shoot them with a gun.
Just get a shotgun and blast them right in the face, dude. That's it.
Which is like, I'm assuming that was how Ericus died. But it's really funny that Xehanort's there, Ericus dies. Can you guys, here we go. Don't say anything, Mike. I want to ask people a question, because Mike and I both had different interpretations of this event. In Birth by Sleep, how did Ericus die? What killed Master Ericus? I'm actually going to look this up right now, too. Please answer me this question. Hour of Waking for the win. Ericus got stabbed in the back. Okay. Keep going. Bad writing.
I'm with Rob. I agree with Rob.
Oh, Rob, you are the smartest person.
I posted that scene and my reaction to it on Twitter and Facebook, actually, as I was watching that scene.
Yeah. Okay, so Xehanort struck him down and his heart went into Terrace. That's what I thought. Xehanort. Everyone's saying Xehanort. Mike actually had an interpretation that it was the darkness. that either Terra killed Ericus or just the darkness in him just destroyed his heart, and he fell forward.
So
right?
here's why I probably didn't get it right.
Well, I don't know
because
that's why I'm bringing this up.
Because I was laughing the whole freaking scene and not really paying attention to it. As Duke McGuy writes there, that's what I was saying the whole time. It was like, because Erica says something like, "My own heart is darkness," and then there's like a big like burst, and his hand like tautens, and you see like something kind of it makes it seem like his heart like exploded in his chest, and then he just sort of falls over. And I was just saying, "No, Sakaguchi, don't succumb to the darkness, Gooch!"
Oh, he kind of looks like the
right,
kid, doesn't he?
Well, he's designed after Sakaguchi,
oh,
right?
Like he was,
yeah, on purpose. He's supposed to look like him.
Oh, that's funny.
So I was like, "Don't succumb to the darkness, Gooch!" So I was just, being stupid while I was watching it. I know that Xehanort then appears and talks to Terra after that, but I literally have no idea what was said because I was just laughing at how dumb the scene was.
Okay.
Like, the scene's just bad. Like, the editing's bad, the delivery's bad, the writing's bad, everything's so bad that I can't pay attention.
What makes it worse? I am pretty sure Sakaguchi, sorry for anybody who doesn't know, is the original creator of the Final Fantasy series from the 1980s, right? Okay. So, Xehanort, if I'm correct that Xehanort killed Ericus, just stabbed him in the back or shot him or did whatever he did. First off, he has a Keyblade, so whatever, however that happened. When Ericus finally sees Xehanort, he's not mad. He's not like, you killed me. Instead, and Ericus isn't like, "Oh, I killed you, my bad," or nothing. It was just like, "Oh, my friend. Hey, Ericus, you're my friend." Like, "Oh, remember when we were friends?" And it's like, "Yeah, you literally killed me. Like, you killed me."
Do you know what's even dumber about that, though?
Is that they friends again.
No, they show a scene in Birth by Sleep, like a flashback, where they fought each other in the little, like, place where they go to, like, do their test. Where, like, Ericus and Xehanort sit and they, like, watch them and, like, observe.
Yeah.
So they show a flashback where Ericus and Xehanort like come to a head on their disagreement about like light and darkness, and they literally like fight each other there. And then they never explain outside of like, I don't know, maybe there's like a journal entry that says like, "Oh, he said sorry at some point." They never explain how they came back and were friends again and were like judging Terra and Aqua in like the test or whatever as like comrades, or what do you call it, peers or whatever. They're like both there, like working together to like judge whether they can become a master Keyblade wielder or whatever. But literally in the past, they had already like come to blows and physically fought to the death over this light and darkness miscommunication issue they have.
Yeah.
And they never explained how they like reconciled that. And so Ericus is like, "Yeah, we're buds again, and we'll like continue working together." And then apparently he kills. Like, it's just fetching horrible. Well, the story's bad, people. I'm sorry, it's bad.
We've gotten a couple. Let's remember Xehanort literally killed Kairi and tried to kill Sora and all of his friends literally 3 seconds before his redemption. But then King Mijona brings up an interesting point, saying it's very similar to Star Wars. Ben Kenobi chilling with Anakin's Force Ghost at the end like nothing happened. I get that a little bit. The difference between Kingdom Hearts and Star Wars, and they are very similar, by the way. Probably
it's clear that Nomura loves Star Wars.
Very clear, and especially Birth by Sleep is so similar to Star Wars. Yeah. It's unbelievable. And now that Disney owns Star Wars, that's just hilarious. That opens a whole new like realm of potential possibilities. But Star Wars is a well-told story, no matter how much you hate the prequels. It is a story that does generate some amount of sympathy for Anakin early on. Even if you ignore the prequels, the way that Luke treats his father, dang, now we're going into spoilers of Star Wars. Sorry, guys. If you haven't seen Star Wars.
If you haven't seen Star Wars, just fetch you, dude.
Anyways, the writing of Empire Strikes Back and the move forward, and also Ben Kenobi, and the way that did Darth Vader actually kill Ben Kenobi? I don't know, because it's like the way it all happens is kind of weird. But the way that things happen at the end of Return of the Jedi, when Luke, his whole purpose, the entire time, from the moment that he's like, you know, I don't know, for basically the whole movie, he does not want to fight and kill his dad. Like, that's his whole like thing. He doesn't want to do it. His goal is to turn his father and to help his father realize, like, that he shouldn't be doing what he's doing or whatever it is. In Birth by Sleep, it's like, this guy's pure evil. He's Hitler, and we are going to kill him. We are literally trying to kill him, and he is trying to kill us, and we are trying to kill him. We are trying to kill Xehanort. And up until the second that Ericus comes out, and then there's redemption, and we're all happy and smiling, even though he literally just killed Kyrie. Very good point, Karasu 8. And we're just like, oh, isn't this so cute? Friends together again. Oh, it's so cute.
Here's the difference for me.
The storytelling. That's the big difference. This one,
the difference,
Star Wars.
The difference for me is that, I mean, in Star Wars, what we're arguing here is overthrowing the Empire, is killing the Emperor and restoring the Republic to the galaxy, which is effectively what Vader does at the end of Return of the Jedi. Is that enough of a penance or recompense to make up for the fact that he murdered children and hundreds of Jedi? Obviously, that's a hard question to answer. I would lean to it's not enough, personally.
No, it's not. If you're looking grand scheme of things in terms of, like, you know, maybe some type of like eternal judgment by God, yeah, not enough. But if you're looking at him and his son's relationship,
their relationship,
then it's like, he did enough. He saved his son. His son saved his life, and he saved his son's life. In the end, they both saved each other, and that's. They
should have just left the whole "they're chilling as Force ghosts" thing out of it.
They should have. Yes, they should have.
So that you don't see like, oh, Vader was redeemed and he's good now. Like that, I didn't like.
The Star Wars story is essentially a redemption arc for Darth Vader. You kind of need the prequels to get the full arc, I suppose, which were not originally told back when I watched Return of the Jedi, which makes sense. But I still didn't care. But the redemption arc, it's a whole journey that you see Anakin taking from a kid all the way up until he dies. And with Xehanort, I'm sorry, you don't get that. You get one game with his friend and this weird light versus dark thing where Ericus cheats. He totally cheats. He put his pawn back, and then he gets all these extra pieces. That's not fair. Anyway,
well, and my point was that while that might not be like a real strong justification for the redemption, at least it's an attempt at it. Like, what Vader does has an enormous effect on billions and billions of lives across the galaxy in ending the tyranny of the Emperor and throwing down the Empire. Yeah. That is a gigantic thing that he did that is benefiting billions and billions of people. In my opinion, it doesn't make up for what he did, but it still is an attempt to show the character has turned a corner here. Whereas it sounds to me like this scene in Kingdom Hearts 3 is just a complete 180 without any like attempt being made to see, like during that fight, right? Vader and Luke are fighting. He's talking to him. You don't ever see Vader's expressions.
Yes.
You never see his expressions because he's wearing a mask, but they linger on his face. And you know that he's considering this. Yeah. And he's looking back and forth as his son's being shocked to death. And he's looking back to the Emperor. He's considering the consequences. There's internal conflict that is leading the character to make a decision.
Yeah. Xehanort has no conflict. He has no internal conflict.
If you just on a dime be like, no consequences for what you've done. I'm still your bud. Let's go up to Force Ghost Heaven and chill. That is, I'm sorry, that's horrible storytelling. It's really bad. It's, and it's not justified at all.
Yeah.
They're not even an attempt made to justify it.
I didn't like it. And it's not that Xehanort, with Vader, he had to make his own choice, right? His hand wasn't forced necessarily. He made his own choice to do that. Xehanort did not make the choice to abandon his evil ambitions. He literally lost. we defeated him. We beat him in a battle, and we foiled his plan right in front of him. And then he decides that he's going to be a good guy now, and that, you know, this whole thing, he shouldn't have done it. It's completely different from Vader. Vader could have allowed his kid to be killed and kept going on, but he made a choice. Xehanort didn't make a choice. We forced his hand. And then, just like Eric Cartman from South Park, he's like, oh my gosh, I just realized, everybody, we should be friends and not try to kill each other, you know? It's like, great, good job, Xehanort. Like, go to heaven now, I guess. Have fun.
So I want to point something out that CJ's saying. He says, I don't necessarily think Xehanort was redeemed. He conceded and was dead anyway. Like, what else would happen? I never saw Xehanort as being evil. Misguided guy that was willing to do anything to see his goals happen. Well, isn't that kind of what...
Smirked and laughed and... Okay.
Well, okay. This is actually something I brought up in... I think, again, my analysis or my reaction to Birth by Sleep, right? There's a part where Xehanort shows up on Terra's path, and you have like this menacing music playing, and he's trying to convince him to be essentially a gray Jedi. He's like, what is this only using light? You have to balance the light and the darkness. Right. And he's like explaining this to Terra, right? And Terra's like eating it hook, line, and sinker. And so what I was saying in that scene was that these games are made for younger audiences, and sometimes subtlety flies over the head of younger audiences, so you have to be a little bit more on the nose at times, and I get that. But the sentiment about Terra is that he's a moron. Like, everyone thinks he's just the stupidest guy ever, but it doesn't help that image when you have menacing music playing, a very evil-looking dude with this gaunt face and, like, yellow eyes, and the way he's delivering the lines is, like, very obviously deceitful.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's like, dude, why are you listening to anything this guy says as the audience?
At you while he's killing people.
So they make it very obvious that he's the villain, right? Yeah. Even though what he's saying is that we need balance between light and darkness. The content of what he says is not necessarily evil. It's all the other storytelling techniques around it. The way the character's designed, the way that they are using slow pushes in on his face as he's making certain expressions.
Sure.
The way that he's literally surrounded by darkness all the time. Like the fact that there's this menacing dark music playing alongside what he's saying that points to him being a bad guy. But like, this is all the way he looks and smirks and cackles, Terra should see that. But like, Terra's not hearing the diegetic music, and he's not, you know what I mean? So they could have helped that scene where we sort of like don't know, we're confused alongside Terra by just not making it so obvious that he's the bad guy. But I would like to see CJ elaborate on why he thinks he's not evil, because to me, being willing to do whatever it takes, and ends justifies the means mentality, right, which is called consequentialism, that is evil, in my opinion. It doesn't matter if your goals are noble or if you have not even just a not evil goal in mind. If you are willing to do whatever it takes, hurt whoever you need to, crawl over and stomp whoever you need to on the way up to that goal, that makes you evil, in my opinion. You have to have ethics that guide how you get to where you're going to not be considered a villain or villainous or evil or whatever. And so to me, it's clear that he is.
Here's the thought. Hitler genuinely thought that the world would be a better place without Jewish people. He really thought that. He's still freaking evil. Like, not that it's a justification, but it's like, just because they think they're trying to do good doesn't mean they are. Like, evil can still be more or less an agreed.
very few evil people who believe they're evil, right?
Right, exactly.
They think they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, they think that they're on a hero's journey that they're the center of.
And it's always interesting when you can actually like find some common ground between what the villain wants and what the hero wants. It's like they both want the same thing. They're both sort of have the same vision of what's best. But again, usually the villain is willing to do whatever it takes, which is I'm willing to harm to reach that goal. And the hero says, no, we're not going to abandon our ethics in order to get the desired result.
Especially when the ethics are like, don't kill people, right? Like Xehanort, he kills Kyrie. He doesn't just like kill her in a maybe sort of more humane. I don't know. He's right in front of Sora. He's laughing at Sora. He slices her back open. She's dead. Like, and it takes a very particularly evil person to do that. That's all I'm going to say about, whether or not he's truly evil or not.
Yeah. And again, there's a spectrum to this too. I mean, sometimes you do have to do things that are uncomfortable. Sometimes you really do just have to hurt. Someone's going to have to be hurt, but like you justify it with the greater good. There are examples where that is, I would say, widely considered the right choice. So it's not to say that ends justify the means is always wrong. It's always the morally wrong choice.
You have to compromise.
But you should try not to, or do the least amount of harm possible in order to achieve the goal, rather than, well, I don't care how much harm I do as long as the goal is reached. It's a matter of... Anyways, I think people know what I mean.
Yeah. So we can move away from Xehanort a little bit, although just in case for anybody who's curious, that was, in my opinion, a little bit of a modernist method of storytelling that I don't appreciate very much. When I mentioned the SJW thing before, probably doesn't apply perfectly to this situation, but the fact that that this black and white story decided in the last 2 minutes to become a gray, like, oh, the bad guys are really good, and that kind of, let's forgive them and redemption and all that kind of stuff, is just like a pandering to a modern audience that has come to expect more grayness in the world, I guess, and an influence from people like that, I suppose. So that was the other thing that I was kind of mentioning before, that I feel like they kind of they tried to change what Kingdom Hearts has been for the past 7 games. But they didn't do it well. They just kind of threw it out there. They're just like, oh, it's like somebody was in a board meeting and was like, what if Xehanort's not actually evil and like he's redeemed and everyone forgives him and like, it's just not all that bad and he becomes a good guy at the end. Like, yeah, let's do that. And it was like a month before the game comes out and they're just like, all right, make the cutscene. Okay, he's good now. All right, good. Everyone will love this now. Yeah, this is so progressive of us. I'm like, okay.
Here's my thought, actually. I just had a thought.
What?
So the Xehanort that they show in this game, is he the young Xehanort from Dream Drop Distance, or is he the old fogey?
They show all of them, but the one I'm speaking of specifically at the very end is the old guy.
Okay, the old guy.
Yeah, but you do go through all of the iterations of Xehanort throughout the game.
This may or may not apply to him then, but there is definitely a otaku like infatuation with anime characters and them being designed to be waifus and husbandos and stuff, right?
Yeah.
That applies very much to Organization 13 members. Like, despite the fact that they were villains in the story, people have like their favorite organization member and they're very attached to these characters in a what's the right word? A specific kind of way that lends to, if you kill that character, people will be very upset by that, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
Or if you paint that character as being completely evil, people will be upset by it.
Yeah.
So there's almost a part of me that thinks that making sure no one dies and that no one is condemned or pronounced as being a truly evil person, it leaves the fanboys and girls free to justify their infatuation with whichever organization member they picked or fancied, or maybe a combination of them at the same time. Whatever you guys are into, it's out of my wheelhouse. I'm just saying. There's part of me that feels like they couldn't actually give any real consequences to these characters for their actions, because that would mean they would have to say this was a bad person. And if you and your fan, stories revolving around you and Sykes getting together or whatever,
then yeah, you would be very invested.
Then they would be saying you're bad, in association with this person, right? So we have to let everyone go scot-free and justify why they were bad and actually they're really good, in order to make the fan boys and girls not feel bad for who they like. I don't know how true that is. That just, I feel like that could have contributed somewhat to the way these things resolved.
Yeah. Well, good thoughts. I have two more things I want to move on to before we finish up here. So we talked about Xehanort. We've talked about all sorts of things, I suppose. Somebody mentioned, and here, let me just write them down real quick. Roxas and Shion we're going to talk about. Okay. And, okay. Actually, let's just talk about that right now. What the fetch? Okay, so my thinking was, before this game came out, man, the Roxas reveal and the Shion reveal are going to be so, good. They're just going to be so emotional. They're going to be so impactful. And even the Naminé and, all these characters who were, they deserve to be people. And it's not fair that they were created as not real android, robot, prosthetic people, but they're real. They developed a heart. So they are real people. They deserve to live their own life, right? And I was so excited to have that point just hammered home. And all of the sudden, Roxas and Shion, they just show up. They just are there. And first off, Shion's trying to kill you. It's another one of those weird reverse things where she's trying to kill you, and then Sora's puts his hand on her shoulder. The hand on shoulder gesture is very important in Kingdom Hearts, I guess. It really is how you connect with people. But Sora just puts his hand on her shoulder, and you don't have to do this. And then she's starts crying, and she does okay, and now she's good, and now she's helping, and then she's on our side, and now she's fighting the other people. And that's stupid. No one flips that quickly. It's unbelievable. And she was trying to kill us. And I just don't like it. I don't like it at all. It happens with all of these Organization 13 members, all of them. They all have these weird reflective moments after we kill them where they're like, oh, maybe being bad wasn't the best thing after all. And then they float away into the whatever, where they can come back to life.
Casen. This is an important lesson. All you got to do is go up to the leaders of ISIS, put your hand on their shoulder, and just very emotionally express that we can be friends and we can all share a heart.
Wouldn't it be great if we just were friends?
And then they'll go, you're right.
Oh my gosh. How did I not see it before?
I can't believe I've been deceived by the darkness.
There was one scene, though, that I did want to talk about. Because the Roxas and Shion thing, unfortunately, after playing Kingdom Hearts 3, there is nothing to talk about with them. And I thought there would be tons to talk about. But it's they're back, and the game just kind of ends, and they're back, and great. And now what is there to talk about? So what the heck happened with Sora? I don't know.
Sorry, I just saw go up to ISIS with sea salt ice cream.
Okay, as weird as that was, that last shot with Lee and Isa and Shion and Roxas and the friends from Twilight Town, what are their names? Anyways, the kids from Kingdom Hearts 2 from the beginning, the girl and the boy and the other guy. Anyways, that was a fun shot, seeing them all together eating ice cream, right? That was fun.
Dennis Rodman can pull that off, actually.
He did it with North Korea. Okay.
Kim Jong-un and Dennis Rodman sitting on the ledge eating sea salt ice cream. I just see it. I see it in my head right now.
Okay.
Oh, it's funny.
So Sora, I want to talk about Sora a little bit because there's nothing to talk about with Roxas and Shion and Naminé. So Sora's character, he's older now. And if you guys watched my video where I talked about why I love Kingdom Hearts, and a lot of it comes back to Sora, the character himself, and kind of the naivety of Sora, and the altruism, and the way he lives his life is just very commendable and something that I really identified with. Now, his character doesn't change a ton through Kingdom Hearts 3, but the things that do change are he's a little more self-conscious, and he's older. So when he says cheesy lines, he has to follow them up with a like, yeah, but Donald Duck, you kind of suck at fighting, haha. And then they laugh. And Donald's like, what? And he gets all mad. And like he kind of has to do that in a way that they didn't do it as much before, but it was still there, I guess. But he's a little more of a teenager now. He's more experienced. There's way less of that like pureness and naivety because he's getting older. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's growing as a character. But I don't identify with him as much anymore. Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, I was able to see especially 1, I was able to see something, and it was a lot of it was due to how old Sora was. I was able to see something in him that was, he was a giant while being not a giant, while being a kid. But he was imposing in his goodness and his kindness. And in Kingdom Hearts 3, you get a little bit of that. It's still there. He helps people. He's doing things for people. But you don't, it's just not the same. And I don't know exactly like how to put it, but it's not the same.
It's not realistic. She should have moved into his angsty emo phase by now.
He's slowly getting the angst for him is nothing. But there was that one moment where Sora gives up hope. And that was actually very powerful. All of these Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, crap. We're losing you. I think we've lost him. This is the first time this has happened in a while. Yeah, I was going to say, it's not realistic that he's not listening to My Chemical Romance. And
what?
He's a teenager now. He's got to listen to My Chemical Romance. He's got to get a few more zippers on his clothes.
Yeah, more
black.
Yeah, wear eyeliner.
It's not realistic. The character arc doesn't follow mine anymore. I can't relate.
So the scene where Sora gives up hope was actually very, very good and very well done and very impactful, very emotional. And I don't know exactly what happens after that because the story takes a hard left turn, and I did not see that coming. I was not expecting it. And yes, I don't like how he unlocks the worlds the power that he has with no like motivation or no reason or whatever. And the way he gets to all the worlds and stuff, whatever. But that power, that powerful scene where the Heartless, there's a literal hurricane of Heartless that's coming towards them, and there's nothing they can do. And the despair he felt and the way that whole scene went was incredibly powerful. I actually really liked it. And you wouldn't have had that in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. You needed this teenage Sora in order to have that moment, because he's never given up hope before. And somehow he finally, and he explains it a little bit. He's like, man, every time I get close to Kairi, she gets taken away from me again. And it's like, finally it happens again, and he just can't handle it. Right. And he's getting older. His body's changing. He's going through adolescence. No, he's just a different guy now. Right. And so that would not have existed were he still young Sora. So I appreciated that to some degree. That was a very powerful scene. I really liked it. And what did you guys think about at least that scene? If we can end on a positive, what did you guys think about the moment when Sora loses hope?
Colin says it's because besides the ending, the game pretends Sora is supposed to have an arc with the power of waking, but that story has nothing to do with the Disney worlds that he randomly unlocks the power for no reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, my answer to that...
He doesn't need to do this stuff anymore, but he's still doing it because reasons.
My answer to that is, like, I wonder how anyone can be surprised by that, because it hasn't been since Kingdom Hearts 1 that any of the Disney stuff had anything to do with the story anyways.
Yeah, like, exactly. They're just kind of there.
It's there because that's what the structure from a gameplay perspective of Kingdom Hearts was. They didn't change the game when they changed the story, the direction they were taking the story. They made a game that unfortunately has to include going to Disney Worlds. That's what the game is. But they completely derailed the story into a place where it doesn't make any sense to do that anymore. And I think that's the fault of direction. I think that it's like, well, the game must be this because of our contractual obligation with Disney. But we're going to make the story go into a direction that no longer supports this structure. And that, to me, is at the top level of the creative management, not having the two things work together anymore.
Yeah.
And being okay with just completely, like, railroading that and making the Disney worlds completely meaningless.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. Because you should watch this, actually. There's two videos that you should watch. They are the most Tetsuya Nomura things I've ever seen in my life. One of them is, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's the intro to the Toy Story world. It is it's a video game that exists within the world of Toy Story that is this guy who, it's basically Final Fantasy Versus 13. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is Versus 13. Holy cow.
Oh, I have seen that. Yeah.
Okay.
What do they call it?
A weird Latin name.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
I can't remember exactly. Breg or
Verum Rex. Verum Rex.
Yes, thank you. Verum Rex. You guys, you need to watch that and then watch the secret ending of Kingdom Hearts, which I don't know if you guys have, even those of you who beat it yet, have seen it. There is... Okay, so they end Kingdom Hearts with maybe Sora isn't around anymore, right? Everyone's happy and chilling, and Sora kind of disappears, and he's not there. And so the implication is that Sora was able to free Kairi somehow and get her to be resurrected, but not himself. He's stuck in the darkness or something like that. He's somewhere. And that's pretty cool, I guess, from a storytelling perspective in terms of the intrigue of like what's going to happen next. But then they have the secret ending, the secret movie, which is, it shows Sora. He's alive. He's fine. He's doing it. He's good. And he is in Tokyo. He is in America, or he's in America. He's on Earth. He's on planet Earth. He is in the modern city of Japan, standing at the intersection where I've been there before. The intersection at Shibuya, the most populated intersection where like 1 million people cross that intersection every day, something like that. And I looked at that.
Real quickly, I was going to bring this up. Karasu just brought it up too. He's in the World Ends With You version of Shibuya. So because
for
I think that's an indication he's gone into the world of the World Ends With You.
That is what I was getting at. They're going to be doing more Square Enix, because somebody had mentioned, and you talked about it a little bit too, that the Disney World connection of Kingdom Hearts is kind of a problem for the story that Kingdom Hearts wants to tell, because it makes less and less sense to have these Disney worlds be a part of that story, right? So they are in this next Kingdom Hearts. It's a big hint that they're going to not have Disney worlds in the next Kingdom Hearts, that it's going to focus more on Square Enix properties, right?
Yeah.
So that's intriguing. But I actually got a little bit upset when I saw that, because it's super cool. Everything about it was awesome. I freaking loved it. Like, they're going to be in Japan now, and I freaking love Japan. So no problems there. But I found myself, I had this thought. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for the next Kingdom Hearts. Now, this is why. Exactly. It took me about 2 seconds before I was like, screw this. Screw that. I am actually very upset at what just happened. He manipulated me. So I spent so much time looking forward to Kingdom Hearts 3. And it has become very apparent to me that specifically Tetsuya Nomura, but Square Enix, is pretty good at getting people to be excited for something and building up anticipation. They're good at that. What they aren't as good at is delivering on the final product. Tetsuya Nomura is phenomenal at directing a cinematic, right? Which is what boggles my mind, that the cutscenes are so poorly done. But the cinematics are incredible, right? And they get me excited. But the second I started feeling myself getting excited for this new Kingdom Hearts, I just had to look back That was me 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I was unbelievably excited to play Kingdom Hearts 3. And I played it, and what the heck was that? So the fact that I'm letting myself get that hyped for something that, first off, won't come out for 20 years. And second off, it won't be what I'm seeing. Like, no matter what, the cinematics will be better than the actual experience playing the game. And I'm like, I just have to like drop everything for a little bit and be like, okay, I can't spend my whole life getting excited for the next thing, right? I was so excited to play Kingdom Hearts 3 for like 7 years. And all of a sudden it showed up and I didn't have the time of my life. Okay, it wasn't as great. But literally the second I finished it and watched that secret ending, I started getting hyped up for the next thing. And it's like, wait, don't do that. I can't do that. Like at some point I need to learn my lesson that it's probably not going to be what I expect it to be. And whatever I have in my mind about what that game is going to be, it's not going to meet that expectations. And there's no reason for me to get excited, first of all, but also upset when that game doesn't meet those expectations and when that game takes 20 years to be released. Because that's where I found myself with Kingdom Hearts 3. And the second it comes out, I'm already back into that cycle again of anticipation for something that won't come for a long time. No, I don't like that at all. And I was very upset. So, and they spoiled it. Sora's fine. He's alive. We just saw him. He's there. Like, why did they even leave us on this cliffhanger? And then 2 seconds later, after the credits, they show us where he is. Like, come on.
How can you spoil something 20 years before it comes out? That's crazy.
They're good at that somehow. They do it.
I was just going to say that...
I agree. I don't want to fall into hype culture, but that's where I've been the last 6 years waiting for Kingdom Hearts 3. So I pledge I will not be that way for Kingdom Hearts 4. There is no hype here for Kingdom Hearts 4.
I was going to say that is the problem with Square Enix right now. Number one, their upper management has been, just abysmal for the last almost 2 decades. Basically, as soon as Yoichi Wada stepped in, the direction that he took the company and his philosophy for what they should be prioritizing and doing completely just eradicated from the earth this, like, genius that they had at the end of the 90s, well, through the 90s and into the early 2000s. It was just like they had a rock-solid foundation and philosophy at the upper management level that trickled down into everything they made. And while they didn't make perfect games, all of them, like, really just resonated with the audience just so well. It's just like people freaking loved what they were making. And when Yoichi Wada took over and Hironobu Sakaguchi left, like, things changed. The games just weren't the same anymore. And I think that so much of it was Sakaguchi's philosophy, because those who played Lost Odyssey found it there, where they weren't finding it in Final Fantasy XIII. Yeah. You know what I mean? So now that Yoichi Wada is gone and they got new people in there, they still manage things really badly. I think it was mostly Wada. I think it was mostly during Wada's time that we had big development trouble with Final Fantasy versus 13. Final Fantasy 13 went through, just a lot of big problems during its development. Type 0 as well. Final Fantasy 15 after they switched.
14.
Final Fantasy 14 was a total debacle. They have had big issues, and I think that it mostly comes from the upper level. But because of that, because of the upper level struggles, I feel like the most talented storytellers and directors that were in that company all fled. Tetsuya Takahashi, Yasumi Matsuno, Hironobu Sakaguchi, all gone. And what you're left with is Kitase, who's more of a producer now. But the truth is that most of the Kitase-led projects I've had problems with. When Kitase is in conjunction with Sakaguchi, when they are together and Sakaguchi's sort of managing him, he does great. His work on Chrono Trigger as a director, his work on Final Fantasy 7 and 6 as a director, all phenomenal. I start to see problems with him and his directorial choices in Final Fantasy 8 and Final Fantasy 10, where Sakaguchi was not in a creative role on those games. So even him aside, where I still think he's not the best, you're left with Nomura, You're left with Hajime Tabata. You're left with all of these people. Some people
gone.
Yeah, he's gone now. Some people will point to, and of course, people are bringing up Yoshi P, who did the Final Fantasy XIV Realm Reborn. That's a guy. That's a guy I would like to see him try his hand at a main single player, like a main series single player Final Fantasy game. I would like to see what he could do. But even Ito, right, who is still there, he's more of a systems guy. He makes battle systems. He deals with mechanics and like the gears of the game, not so much the storytelling side of it. And that's why Final Fantasy XII sort of fell apart with the story, because Matsuno was directing that at the beginning, and then it got handed off to somebody who had worked with him on previous projects, someone who had come with him from Quest. Not Quest. Is it Quest? I can't remember. The guys that made Tactics Ogre and Ogre Battle and stuff like that.
I don't know who made that kind.
I think it's Quest. Anyways, one of the guys who had been with him all through those years sort of took the reins and obviously wasn't as talented as a storyteller. So because of this upper management shift in philosophy, I feel like all the great directors left. And now we're left with guys who are all great concept people. Nomura
too. They're younger.
Nomura is a concept artist. He's a character designer, right? Great with concepts. I have yet to see a game he has helmed that delivered on an execution level a excellently told story. I don't think he's good at it. I don't think that the other people that have filled in for Final Fantasy have been good at it at all. And some people might bring up Nier, right? I forget his name, the crazy guy who wears the big helmet, for the director of Nier Automata and Nier. Someone will put it in the Yoko Taro, right?
Yeah.
I feel similarly about him, though. While he's better than Nomura, no question about that, I still feel like he's better as a concept guy. And if there's something about execution, something about how you edit, how you write, how you deliver something, that just for me, it doesn't really resonate. It doesn't really work in the end. I feel a bit apathetic toward it, even though I can see like all these good ideas there. And so, yeah, like if you're a person who loved the storytelling of 1990s Squaresoft, and you loved the Final Fantasy trilogy on the PlayStation, even if you loved Final Fantasy X where Sakaguchi was still there, if you loved Vagrant Story, if you loved Final Fantasy Tactics, those were all Matsuno projects. If you loved Xenogears, Tetsuya Takahashi, these people aren't there anymore. And the people who have risen up to fill their place are not storytellers. I'm sorry, they're just not. They're concept artists. They're battle system directors. They're even event planners and event directors like Kitase was, but they still aren't like really strong, proven storytellers. And this to me is their biggest issue, and it's why I have little to no hope that anything will change in terms of how good the stories can be in Square Enix games until they address that. Now, again, the saving grace here maybe potentially is the Final Fantasy XIV Realm Reborn director, who seems to have a solid head on his shoulders and know what he's doing. If he was given the reins on Final Fantasy XVI, I would actually be excited. I am not excited for Final Fantasy VII Remake because it is Tetsuya Nomura. So, I don't know why I got on this tangent, but I just wanted to let you know that
there's an issue with Square Enix in general, not just,
yes. The hype for these projects comes from visual excitement. They look really amazing. The concepts, the designs are all immaculate, as good as anything in the industry. Beautiful. It looks incredible. And that's basically where the substance of these things ends. It is all
you know what?
flash.
That's a culture problem. Because you know how these games and these concepts get greenlit, right? The directors and the artists and the concept people get together. They put together a pitch for the executives, and then they show the executives that pitch. So the executives are watching these insanely well-rendered, like cinematics, basically the stuff that Nomura excels at, watching those things and being like, that's it, green light, that's the game we're going to make. But the executives themselves aren't asking the questions of where's the substance. It's all flash and no substance. And so, a lot of it, like, there's a lot of blame at the lower parts, but it's a company culture problem, because that's the kind of stuff that the board of Square Enix is approving. And that's what they are looking for. And so it's a problem with the company just at almost all levels. It's like the culture of the company, because you want your project to get greenlit. Well, how do you get it greenlit? Well, you make a flashy cinematic and you don't worry about the story. So it is a company problem. It is not just, the directors or whatever team or anything.
Yeah. Okay, I want to address a couple things here. Lego Dog says Octopath, Bravely Default. These are steps in the right direction. Now, you have to keep in mind, Octopath was developed by Acquire, not by Square Enix. Square Enix published
Square Enix just owns it. They're second party, right?
Yeah, the second
I think
party.
Square Enix owns like 60% of their company.
Now, after the success of that game, I think they've been made like an official division at Square. But it was made by Acquire, which is like a second party developer. Bravely Default, similarly, was developed by Silicon Studio. They are not a second party to Square Enix, but Bravely Default was published and is owned by Square Enix, but it was developed by Silicon Studio. These also, neither of those games have great storytelling. They get a lot of the other things right in terms of like the gameplay style that we've been wanting to see in these RPGs, but I think both of them really struggle with storytelling. And the same is true of that other studio that made the
Lost Sphere.
Yeah, and Lost Sphere.
Yeah.
Which is also basically a division
RPG Factory. Yeah,
RPG Factory. They have the same problem. None of these games have great storytelling on the level that we saw in 90s era Squaresoft. Anvil of Doom says, so Mike, what you're saying is I'll be looking forward to your review of Outer Worlds, not your review of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm actually not sure what Outer Worlds is, but... Sure,
we'll look into it.
I'll look into that.
There's something, a few people have asked me to comment on the music from Kingdom Hearts 3. The music is wonderful, but I actually don't want to focus on that at all because it wasn't that different. In fact, there were certain scores that is the exact same song from the previous games, like not even rearranged. It is the same song. And there isn't much variance anymore. In fact, Yoko Shimomura was probably credited for the music because she wrote the original scores, but they just reused the same stuff over and over. There's very little new music. So just wanted to bring that up.
Colin asks, Mike, has it been confirmed how much involvement Nomura had with the story of the OG FF7? I've heard conflicting reports. No one can say for sure, but we know this is true of both Final Fantasy VI and Final Fantasy VII. Both of those games' scenarios, there's a difference between story and scenario, okay?
Yeah.
The scenarios of the story were collaborated on, meaning that there were many people who were working on specific scenarios. In Final Fantasy VI, the way they handled it was that they had certain people creating the scenarios for a number of characters. I believe Sakaguchi conceived Terra and... what was the other? I don't think it was Celeste, but maybe Locke? Maybe something like that. But then Kitase had a couple of the other characters, and even Nomura did the scenarios for Shadow and Setzer, I think it was. So they collaborated on the team to sort of like conceptually create the ideas and behind the characters' stories. And they had a similar process on Final Fantasy VII. But again, that's not the problem I have with Nomura. His concepts are all phenomenal.
He's brilliant conceptually.
I think the concept of Final Fantasy versus 13, from what we know of it, that some of the parts that were removed for the eventual 15, with Insomnia being a city that worshipped like death, essentially, like the goddess of death, and like some of the real gray area they were going with Noctis being partially like the villain of the story. There were concepts in Versus 13 that to me made it have the promise of being the best Final Fantasy story ever told. I was hopeful that it was going to surpass Final Fantasy VII in my mind, based on what we knew conceptually about the story. It has nothing to do with how good they are at coming up with great ideas, and has everything to do with how they edit scenes, write the dialogue, pace the story, when they decide to use humor or fan service, how they resolve conflicts in the end, the plot holes, not thinking through things, extremely well. There's so many other aspects that are key for a good storyteller to develop that is so evident in people like Sakaguchi and in Matsuno that are not evident in Nomura at all. Like he just doesn't, he has not developed the skill. That's not to say he's not a great artist. He's developed other skills that Matsuno doesn't have. I'm willing to bet Matsuno cannot draw characters as well as Tetsuya Nomura can. So they're in different wheelhouses. But Nomura is trying to take over a part of the process that he's not really good at, and trying to lead that. And that to me is the problem with the company, is that they're not putting the right people in the right place.
Right. Well, Nomura strikes me as somebody who would give a very good pitch in a boardroom.
Yeah, absolutely.
And would show, and I think that's why he rose through the ranks in the company so fast. Just everything he put forward was conceptually just, so incredible.
Well, Lego Dog, Nomura could still be the director of the game, but just, and again, this is speculation on my part. This is only coming from the fact that every Nomura directed game that I've played, I felt like the storytelling was very lackluster. But this was brought up in one of my Kingdom Hearts streams, actually. I think he only actually wrote Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days. Aside from that, they had a different person writing the story. So
358 over 2 is pretty good.
This is a general sentiment I'm giving. It's not like any direct criticism of his process, because, of course, we don't know exactly what that process is. I'm speculating that he, as the director, is making certain choices about the storytelling, but he's not writing the stories for the most part. And of course, being the director, there's a lot of management going on there in terms of making sure all the teams are hitting deadlines and just like PR level stuff that is part of the daily job that wouldn't even leave him available to like sit down and write the story out and like block it. So they have other people there, but he's in charge of putting those people in place and also of correcting them if they're making mistakes. Ultimately, that still falls on him, and the fact that he's not seeing these problems and correcting them is what leads me to believe he doesn't really understand good storytelling. Whereas other directors from the past who were managing all of that same stuff were obviously giving the right direction to correct things as they came up and forming a final product where the story felt very well told. So, anyways.
All right, guys.
Let's move on. Unless you're not done with Kingdom Hearts.
Nope. I'm ready to move on. I think we've got a good response here, and we'll see what I decide to do with this information.
Let's move over to our community stories. And go ahead and bring this up. This was sent to me on Facebook, this game called Beckoned. And
nice.
It really, actually, let me send this to you, Casen. Two things that you can see here. One is the website, and then the other is a little video showing off some gameplay. So there's the website for the game. And here is the link to the video.
All right.
So there you go, so you can see those. This really stuck out to me, though. I really loved the look and feel that this game is giving off. It's called Beckoned. It's in development, and this was sent to me by hold on. Let me get the name real quick. So I sometime or once or twice I've
The
given the
name
wrong
is
name.
Thevenot. Thevenot. Jeremy
Yeah,
Thevenot or
yes,
Thevenot?
Jeremy Thevenot or Thievenot. I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name, but Jeremy is the one who sent this to me on Facebook. So he is one of the developers working on the game. I love the art style. I love it, and I especially love. I mean, they've done a lot of work here on the world building. It looks like it just looks really, really cool to me. I'll show a couple screenshots here.
Yeah, it does look really cool.
Um,
Holy cow. That's
this
unique art
screenshot,
too.
this screenshot I have up right now. You know, we've talked about how it would be really cool if a modern developer would go back to designing a game like the PS1 Final Fantasy games with pre-rendered backgrounds, right?
Yeah.
But they're 2D backgrounds that the 3D characters run on.
Mm.
This, in some ways, actually reminds me of more of a modern take on like the Xenogears way of doing it. At least in this screenshot, this looks like it could be a pre-rendered image, but it also looks like it's a 3D environment with 2D characters. So like cartoonized characters sort of running around on it is what it sort of looks like to me here. It could be that, you know, different areas are designed differently, because I look at this one and it's not quite like that. Like this screenshot looks like the environment is more of like a hand painted 2D environment that they're in.
Yeah.
But the art in general is what I'm getting at. The art is phenomenal. It strikes me in a big way looking at this. Now to see the game in motion, I'm going to show this video that he sent me just a little while ago. I am going to have the sound on, so we're going to be quiet for a bit as we play this. One second, let me see if I can. Is this an HD? It says it's an HD. It looks a little low res, but hopefully you can still get the idea. Oh man, it's not as clear as it should be. This is why I was asking Jeremy. Oh, there we go. There we go. It just cleared up. It's actually in HD now. How long is the video? Okay, it's about 2 minutes long, so I'll just let it play and let you guys watch it for a bit.
Okay.
But I'm a big fan of like the look and feel of the game. It actually evokes a little bit of a Obsidian style RPG, like the bird's eye isometric view that kind of like zooms in as you're like talking to characters, and the way like the chat boxes are designed feels a little bit like that to me. Even like the design of the areas. I wonder if he'll get into a battle here in a second. So he's kind of just talking to people here. These characters, obviously, that are walking around, I don't know if they're designed to be like those colors, if they just haven't like completed the character art for them. These are just like stand-ins for the time being. Jeremy did say he would be here on the stream, so if he's watching, if he could answer questions in the chat, that'd be nice.
You there?
Let's see if it gets into a battle here. No, it looks like it's about to end. So he just showed.
Yeah, it basically never gets into a battle, but you know, it looks cool. I love the art. Looks really nice.
Let's see if Jeremy's here. I haven't looked at the chat here in a second. There it is. Anyways, I will provide links to you guys now. to the website beckoned. And you can look into this a little bit more. I think it looks really cool. I'm very intrigued by it. There's the link. Now it's in the chat. And of course, this will be in the description as well. So take a look at the website. If you guys like what they're doing, show some support. Looks awesome. Thank you, Jeremy, for sharing that. The last thing I want to share today, this one comes from Heon on Discord. He's done a jazzy sort of remix of Final Fantasy VII's main theme. And he says that he's done it for the livestream.net for a podcast that they're doing. So I'll play this for a minute or two, and you guys can listen to it. But you can find it here on Discord. If you join our Discord, we have different topics here, like gaming discussion, film discussion, literature discussion. Down under the State of the Arc podcast, we have our podcast chat, this week's stories, where you guys can share news topics that happened during the week that you'd like us to talk about. And then community stories is where you can share your work with us. And that's where he's posted this, so you can come listen to the whole thing there if you'd like. I'm playing it now. Okay, you get the idea. Again, go and check out the full song on Discord. Give Heon some feedback, and that brings us to the end of our podcast, everybody. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks for watching.
If you love Kingdom Hearts 3, thanks for not being too upset. I'll be doing a lot of research, trying to find out, trying to come to terms with everything and not be so upset.
Yeah. Leave any counterpoints that you have in the comments.
Yes, please do. Please do.
On YouTube and elsewhere. And of course, we would love to hear all of your perspective. As it stands at the moment, I predictably probably wouldn't be the biggest fan if I had played the game.
But, I have it. You can borrow my copy.
Casen was a fan and is a bit disappointed. So,
yeah.
Anyways, we will see you guys again soon. Thank you for your support. Have a great rest of your Sunday and weekend, and we'll see you next week. Peace out.
Peace.